you eating on? What are you eating on? We were sitting there talking about, and Christ makes three wonderful declarations in this text right here of what he's talking about. His great claim, the requirements, and the wonderful promise. So when you think about this, and this message today has three things I want you to focus on: the great claim, the requirements, and the wonderful promise. And what better do we have? I mean, sometimes I think about this, and I share this with you many a time. There is a difference when it comes to living versus just existing. Yeah. And I'm not so sure that some of us, we've heard through the grapevine, that some of us have gotten in a rut and all we do is exist now and we don't live. And what does it mean to live? That's one of my goals today, to understand. And I titled it this first piece, 48 through 51, because they all go together: the meal that has been paid in full. The meal that has been paid in full. This reminded me, I had to go back and look, but it was the craziest thing. How many ever been on a cruise? How many been on a cruise? Oh, awesome. Okay, good. So at least you can kind of tell. But anyway, the part of it. Well, how many have ever been on a vacation where it was all inclusive? So everything that you went on a vacation to eat, it was all inclusive. Okay, good. So this is interesting. So the first time we went on a cruise, I just went all out. It was crazy. We went on a 7-day. And I tell you, don't go on a 7-day. It was too long. You're ready to come home after day 4 or 5. But 7 days is entirely too long. And so this was interesting. The first day or two was crazy. And that little one of mine, Kalisha, she's always been a fire when we're running around. And so I didn't know, you don't know the rules, you're trying to figure out, and I think it was all inclusive, and you could just eat whatever you wanted to eat, and they had the soul table, they had the Chinese, so you go think about this on a cruise, they had the sweet table, and you could eat till you just couldn't eat no more. You could just take a bite and throw it away, then go get some more, take a bite and throw it away. So I want you to kind of think about this as we prepare for this message, and it's just crazy, to the point where after day 3, 4, 5, you didn't want no more. Come on now, you done ate so much, and because when you first said, I'm going to try this on Monday, and I'm going to eat this on Tuesday, and I'm going to eat this on Wednesday, and I'm going to eat this on Thursday, and by the time your 7 days up, you don't want anything to eat. And it's all inclusive. And I remember all the time we go up there, just like, can you just imagine, can you just go to the store and go to your favorite restaurants, and you sit there and say, and you can walk into a restaurant, I don't care, whatever your favorite restaurant is, and if you walked into that, and you could order anything off the menu, and it was already paid in full. Chances are, because you go to some of them menus, they look on and they go, this is expensive, they ain't got the price. Have you ever been in a menu place where they didn't put the price on there? Yeah. And I'm one of those that they tell you, if you gotta know the price, then you probably at the wrong place. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, how much that cost? They ain't got no name, they ain't got no price on this. You gotta follow it because you can see all it, and all the emotions is going through. And I'm like, well, man, I know what I really want, but what they gonna cost here, So you're trying to be smooth, and you ask the question. You're like, well, how much this cost? How much does this cost? And then you realize that I have spent so much energy trying to figure out how much this cost, worrying about all this, and I ain't even enjoying myself. I'm walking in thinking I'm going to spend this versus going in and enjoying myself. Come on now. So when you think about this, so if I asked you a question today and you look around and you say, what are you eating on? And did the favorite meal come to your mind? And it's something that's so good to you, do you even worry about the cost? If you really want it and you got the money, would you worry about paying for it? If that's what you really liked and wanted. Now, I want you to think about all that. Jesus comes through and he's talking to them. He's saying, he's been talking and telling you, what do you want more of? Talked about last week. What else can I do? I've given you everything. I've shown you the way. I'm here. And he makes this great claim. And this is what sometimes I think about. The first thing I am the bread of life. Now I'm going through and I read this in the text, but I had to go back and say, man, and look what he said up until now. He said, I am the bread of life. I am the light of the world. I am the gate. I am the good shepherd. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the true vine. All these sayings show that Jesus is all that man and women need, and yet Jesus is not enough. It's paid in full. I come to tell you. I don't know what else to tell you. I just read it to you again. I brought it. I told you. And somehow we as men and women still say Jesus is not enough. I paid it in full. You can eat whatever you want to eat. All included. You can go and do whatever you want. I paid it in full. It's interesting when I look at this text. I'm like, why? What more do I want? What more do I need? He paid it all in full. So I got to ask you a question today. They say that we have to eat. I'm reading this text. You got to help me work this text. Said you have to eat. And they tell you that somebody just said, I think I heard this Donna talk about that. And you go in, the first thing they tell you, when we know it's almost death time, they say they quit what? They quit eating. So guess what we learned? That in order to live, you must eat. Oh, I'm going to work. Come on now. In order to live, you must eat. Now, we know that physically. We know that it gives us nourishment. We know all those things. Now, the problem is this. What are you eating? And if I was to ask you to this day, and I'd ask you, do you have a balanced diet? What do you eat daily? And I would be afraid of what folk would start saying to me, of coming out and say, oh yeah, I eat something daily. Then I say, well, how many times do you eat? And it's recommended that we eat 6 to 8 times a day. And this is crazy because I'm looking through all this stuff, and I've taught this for 5 years out of Harrisburg campus. 6 to 8 times, small portion, and it consists of these things. I'm getting ready to share something with you, and yet we miss it. We wait. I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat a snack. I don't eat lunch. Well, sister girl, you eating something. Brother, you eating something. You done told me you don't eat all this stuff, but you got something on you, because guess what we start to realize? You got to walk with me to understand this and why Jesus came to him so hard. See, I am this, and I am this, and I'm that, and I keep trying to tell you, and somehow, years later, we get ourselves in this situation because we didn't do what God told us to do. So if I was to ask you this question, and I come back and I want you to look at something, and I would ask you, and it says it, a healthy eating plate. This is something I taught all those years at Campbellsville to a lifestyle change. And it said it consists of 4 things that you have to have in your daily diet in order for your diet to be considered healthy. And it's crazy. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and healthy protein. And it's so crazy. It consists of those 4 things, and I gave them to you. And you know what? And if you had your personal chef, and your personal chef fixed these 4, make sure you had these 4 things every meal, and you still wouldn't eat it. Because you're going to say, I ain't got time. You're going to say, I can't do this. And it's crazy. And I'm going to tell you, you got your personal chef. You got it all at your hand. You got the resources. You got the knowledge. You got the money. And you still push it away. What does that mean, preacher? What I've learned, I got to give it to you physically before you can ever get it spiritually, and we'll come back to it. What does that mean? What type of oil do you cook with? And I want to make sure, because sometimes I jump over this, and I say, man, I don't even know, I just use the worst oil because it makes the fried chicken taste better. It makes the fried pork chop taste better. It makes all this fried. And now I'm 65, broke down because I've ate 40 years of nothing but fried foods. You know better, so you ought to do better. So maybe someone hasn't taught taught you, and I'm saying, man, what kind of oil do you cook with? And do you use olive oil? Do you use canola oil and stuff? And on and stuff. Or do you just cook with butter and lard and fat and just go on about your, I'm just going to be fat and happy. But what you forget in fat and happy turned into sickness. So this is interesting. The more vegetables that you eat, the variety. And this is what's crazy. And I'm reading this stuff, and I want to read it to you. It says, guess what? If you eat the consistent of vegetables every day, then it minimizes your intake of potatoes and french fries. Two of the worst things for us. And guess what, brother? I grew up that same way. I've got to have me a starch. I've got to have me some potatoes. I've got to have all this stuff. And guess what they did? I'm getting ready to show you in the text. And they was mad at Jesus. They didn't realize that Jesus brought manna down for them to eat. They said, I want to go back to Egypt and eat at the king's table where I was fat and happy and ate whatever I wanted to eat. I don't want to eat what Jesus got for me. So because I won't do it the way Jesus does it, so now I'm going to eat when I want to eat, what I want to eat, and now my body is breaking down. Wow. I don't like fruits. I don't like vegetables. Well, God made you. He knew you from your mother's womb. He made you. This is what the body consists of, and you have to eat. I don't like water. I don't like tea. I don't like milk. I don't drink all that. I want Coke. I want Sprite. I want Kool-Aid. Come on now. I want this kind of drink. And it's crazy how, because you got to walk with me. You see all that. What do you mean you don't like? If all you had to drink is water, guess what you would be doing? Drinking water. And you would like to drink, and you would learn to like water. Because I want you to catch all this and how we get ourselves in this mess. And now it's hard to get out of it. Because if you allow somebody to eat like this for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and then we see what happens to them. I see the other side of it. Man, what does it mean? I can't eat cold cuts. It blew me away when I read that. Limit your cold cuts. Man, I love cold cuts. Ain't nothing like a good bologna sandwich real fast. See, y'all gonna walk with me because I don't want to prep and I don't want to do this, so I'm just gonna eat all this stuff, and then I can't process it, and the stuff don't go down right, and I'm bound up, and I don't feel good, and I'm at it. Come on, bro. It's crazy how our minds get, and we keep trying to fight the system that God has put in place. I rained down manna for you, and you fought it. That's why I asked you to read Exodus 16, all the verses 1 through 36, sometime over the next month and a half. I asked you to read Psalm 78, 1 through 72. See, I didn't read it was messing me up. I know better, so I ought to do better, but I don't want to read the Word of God. I don't want to change it, so I'm just going to die fat and happy. Well, the pastor, you meddling anyway. You don't need to tell me what I'm going to eat in my house. You right. I'm not going to be there, but I'm going to be the one eulogizing you. I'm going to be the one saying, yeah, I know. She didn't like fish. She didn't like chicken unless it was fried. You know, you done heard it all. It's my same kind of talk. And we going through here. And he said, I come to tell you. And I don't know what else to tell you. He said, I am the living bread which came down from heaven. And if anyone eats of this bread, he will live forever. And the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. Believers. And it's crazy when I tell you, believers doing it and not talking it. Believers doing it and not talking it. Well, what does that mean, preach? Let's get on down the road for time's sake. I just want you to see, what are you eating? What are you thinking about? How life comes this way at me. And look what he said here. I want you, in other words, this means that Jesus is able to satisfy the deepest needs and the longing of the human soul. And brothers, I'm telling you, anytime I try to go around Jesus and get it, it didn't fill me up. I just read these scriptures. It couldn't fill me. It didn't sustain me. And sometimes you want to think Jesus is soft. And look how hard Jesus is in verse 49. Look what he said in verse 49. It messed me up. Your forefathers ate it and they died. Come on now. Your forefathers ate it and they died. They ate the way that, come on now. They argued. They fussed at me because they wanted this kind of diet. And I had this kind of diet for them. Come on now. And guess what? When you read Exodus, I didn't realize how selfish we were. Yeah. I didn't realize how you don't want to take care of yourself, but you want somebody to take care of you when you're broke down and busted because you didn't do what God asked you to do in the beginning. Oh, it's real. Oh, it's so real. It gets so personal. When we sit down and think, we must remember that Jesus is the only one thing that can and will satisfy your needs and longings. And brother, I am telling you, your needs and longings, the world cannot satisfy. I read it to you in 51. I came to save the world from itself. I didn't realize how I've tried to get so much of the world stuff on me, in me, that I asked myself, how did I get in this kind of situation? And I'm going to ask you today, are you ready to feed on Jesus Christ and believe in Jesus Christ and commit your life to Jesus Christ and get to know Jesus Christ? Sometimes it's just got to be that plain. I don't know what else to tell you. I'll say it to you again. Are you ready to feed on Jesus Christ? Believe in Jesus Christ. Commit your life to Jesus Christ. Get to know Jesus Christ for yourself. And sometimes I just got to ask you, because my mama didn't do it right, and my daddy didn't do it right, and my grandparents didn't do it right, and I just grew up, and that's just how I eat. That's just how I think. That's just how I live. Shame on that mindset. And guess where that mindset gets you? 49. Come on now. Your fathers ate the manna in the wilderness and are dead. In the wilderness. What's that represent? Come on now. We told you. I keep telling the wilderness always represented this way for me. It's crazy. For 40 years, they walked around in the wilderness. It was only a 13 mile. It was just that, and they could not see it. I keep telling you this. That's like going back and forth to Danville back. Danville line, come back to Harrisburg, and you didn't even know there was a golf course for 40 years out there. And you keep riding by and you didn't see the golf course. You don't know what. You in the wilderness. And come on. And guess what they said? In the wilderness, waiting to die. And brother, sometimes, let me make it plain to you in today's time. Some folk are just living to die. And brother, there's no joy in their salvation. Come on, there's no love in their salvation. There's no peace in their salvation. There's no joy in their salvation. And some folk are just existing. And I come to preach a Jesus that's going to take you out of that kind of a mindset. And brother, I'm here to tell you, it's so hard to get out of that mindset when you get on it, when it gets on you. And I asked you this. Now let's make it really plain as we start to go on down this thing. And look what he said here. Now, man, this is the bread which comes down from heaven. That one may eat of it and not die. I'm trying to say, okay. So I asked you this. How often do you eat? Physically and spiritually daily. I just told you to recommend it. I'm not going to say, I don't eat 6 to 8 times. And I taught the lesson. I wished I would eat 6 to 8 times, because guess what I learned if I get it right? If I eat 6 to 8 times, then I don't overeat. When I miss a meal or 2 or 3, I eat crazy stuff in between, and then by the time the meal comes, I say, put 5 scoops on there, 5 scoops of this. 5, come on now, because come on, bro, don't look like I'm crazy. And the Bible tells you, I just sat here and read it to you right here, how often are you eating physically and spiritually? You can't tell me you only eat spiritually when life gets tough. That I heard somebody say in Sunday school, I've got to feed on it. I heard what this morning said, it's a beautiful thing. Now sometimes we do err this way. We think the kids are going to get it because we've got it. And they have to see us the same way. How was it for you when those lean years? When you really didn't have enough, but you had enough. Brothers, I didn't realize how I became wasteful. The more I got, the more wasteful I became. When I didn't have much, man, it was, come on, I pinch, come on, man, let's eat all this. That's for leftovers. No, I don't eat leftovers. So far, I don't eat leftovers. I'm not from the leftover generation. Now, I eat leftovers. I'm just talking about people who say, you gotta look where you are. I'm from the leftover generation. But there's some, I don't eat leftovers. I ate it for that day. And in 2 or 3 days, I'm act like I'm gonna eat, and then we throw it away. So how often do you eat physically? How often do you eat spiritually? What do we need to eat daily? What do we need to eat daily? What do you need? What do you need? I just gave it to you. I told you 4 things physically what you needed, and what do you need spiritually? What do you need? Do you need prayer? Do you need meditation? Do you need study time? What do you need? How often are you giving to God? What are you talking to Him about? 24 hours. How many of the 24 hours, how many hours are you giving Jesus daily? Are you giving Him 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? What are you giving Jesus? You have to learn to quantify this. How much time are you giving Jesus in a 24-hour span? So God said, I'm going to take out the 6 to 8 hours. I'm going to let you sleep. I'm going to take out the 2 or 3 hours over the time and let you eat. I'm going to let you go to work for 8 to 10 hours. Now, where's my time? I'm going to give you I'm going to make it plain to you. I'm going to give you your time frame. You got all this. Now, what are you going to give me back? I gave you the strength to go to work. Come on, I've given you the strength to go sleep. I've given you the strength to take all this. Now, when are you going to take some of your strength and give it back to me? And this is what's interesting to me. I guess I had to have a health scare like everybody else. Because when I put this last point in here, I want to make sure, has eating, whether it's physical or spiritual, become personal to you yet? Because I'm just like everybody else. Remember, I told you I ate like everybody else. And not until we went in there, I'll never forget, Colette was with me, and the doctor said, you can ready to get diabetes. And we're going to put you on all this medication. And I looked at her and I said, the devil is a lie. And guess what, brothers and sisters, you want to say? And started doing everything I'm supposed to do, and all the weight dropped off. And my numbers went down, and they trying to figure it out. And all I did was do what God told me to do. I'm telling you, I just started eating better. People ask me, how did you lose all your weight? I just eat better. I don't eat all the crazy stuff like I used to. I just don't. I had to remove some stuff. I didn't eat the bread. I went for 6 months without eating bread, and I just couldn't, unbelievable how this was crazy. And I like bread just like everybody else. And I just went away with it, and it all dropped off because it became personal. And brother, I'm telling you right now, is Jesus Christ personal to you? Is your health personal to you? Are you going to wait until you get it out, until it gets out of whack, and they got to medicate you to get it right? Or it's going to become personal to you? I pray today that you start to realize, because he was talking to these disciples here, and all the folk came here, and they say, man, this is crazy. This is the bread which comes down from heaven, that one may eat of it and not die. One may eat of it. So guess what? Eat of it. So what are you eating on? Eat of it. What are you eating on? He's going to tell you, and not die. So if I eat of Christ, guess what it tells me? I'm not going to die. I'm going to be preserved. He's going to take care of me. Stuff will fall off. It's not rocket science, people. And this is kind of one of those mess that ain't going to get you, because you got to just see where you really are, because it's got to become personal to you that Jesus is. And I'll go back again. I don't know what you're going to say. Is he your life? Is he your life? Is he the gate? Is he the good shepherd? Is he the resurrection? Is he the way? Is he the truth? Is he the vine? Is he your all and all? And it's sometimes crazy, because is he the center of your joy? Is he your all and all? And we go home, and look what he said. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If anyone eats of this bread he will live forever. And the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world.
Amen.
Wow. And the last one, we got the great claim, we got the requirements, and now, brothers, we all want to jump to the promise without having the first two. You will never be able to experience the promise of God until you get the first. See, that's the part you got to do. I understand he's my great claim, and I want that. And I understand the requirements. Hey, Brother Kevin, I have to change some stuff then. I can't keep doing what I want to do and act like that I'm saying he's the great claim. He's the life. Come on, I had to change my, and I had to. It's not. And that's what he told Caleb right there. I'll give you 6 months and you come back. So he put it on me. So I walked. I ate different. I did the requirement to not get on the medication. And it's crazy. It ain't nothing to it. And man, don't you. And I'm not going to tell you it wasn't tough. Because then the stuff that you was eating this all the time. You said, man, I can't. And the coach would say, you ain't got all this stuff in there no more. I said, no, because I can't. Because it's personal to me. And I want to make it personal to you. And if I can't bring all these snacks in here and let you eat, I don't eat it. Because I'm going to hurt you and not hurt myself. Because I know, because the requirements, man, and Jesus does require. All he requires is you to give your life back to him. And what does that look like and what does that mean? And we just sat here and explained that to you. I'm telling you. And so I asked you this last in the promise. Are you stuck on the now versus the promise of life to come? Brothers, I'm telling you, what a beautiful picture. I didn't realize how my now messed up the promise to come. I spent so much time in today that I didn't really believe in you, what was to come. Because I want it now. I want this fried now. I want this. Come on, brother, I want it now. I want it now. I want how it makes me feel now, but what's to come. And somewhere, brothers, you got to realize your life, are you stuck in the now versus what's to come.